Former U.S. Ambassador to Russia John Tefft. He holds the Distinguished Chair in Diplomacy and Security at the RAND Corporation. John, thank you for being here on this, and I'm very interested to hear your perspective. Of the people Russia received back, who is sticking out to you the most in terms of who Putin really sees as a win here?
Well, it's nice to be with you, Natasha. I've read over many of the accounts in the main newspapers today of what transpired in some of the history of this long and torturous negotiation. And I think the thing that sticks in my mind is something I knew before, which is that the whole focus of this, at least in the mind of Vladimir Putin, was Vladimir Krasikov, this assassin who was convicted of murder and imprisoned in Germany. The Washington Post said that during the negotiations, American negotiators found him to be almost obsessed with getting Krasikov out, and apparently he knew him personally. Not clear exactly from where that was, but this was clearly the driver of the entire negotiation, which required a lot of hard work by some very patient and diligent State Department officials, Foreign Service officers, as well as Bill Burns and some of the CIA officers who negotiated with some of the intelligence services. In the end, we got our people back. And as your reporter indicated, there is a downside to this, but in foreign policy, it's not very often that you have clear, easy choices. You have one choice, and it's often got some downsides to it. And I think that's this one here. But in the end, we got not only our own people back, but we got a lot of Russian dissidents who had been falsely imprisoned in Russia out during this trade.
To your point, mentioning Vadim Krasikov, it was interesting to hear Jake Sullivan live on our air. We were watching that briefing saying, he was the key to putting this entire deal together. Are you concerned about Krasikov's release? Do you think that he in particular still poses a danger going forward, or is it more ideological, his release?
I think that these guys who have been convicted in the West and that have been swapped not only in this one but in the past, he's not going to be able to travel anymore to the West because he's so well known, not just the name but also the face. Even if he had some kind of a false name that he was to travel on.
I mean, John, let me ask you about that, because I understand that this is my movie mind going here. Can't he get plastic surgery? Can't he drastically change his appearance? If he is such a skilled assassin, why wouldn't they deploy him again in the future?
It's always possible, Natasha, but I think there's a lot more guys in Russia who could do this job as well as, or perhaps as well as Krasikov. They train people for this kind of work, and it's to make sure that these guys can come home, that Putin did this, and why he focused so much on this. He's a former KGB agent, and he believes very strongly that if you get compromised or captured doing your work for the state of Russia, that they will find a way to get you back eventually. And I think Krasikov and others have said that on the Russian media today. This is Putin's philosophy.
His own interesting ideology, I guess, that we get to see there, his own principles that we get to see on Putin's side. We were talking to Joe Khalil about Mark Vogel earlier. There are still Americans in Russia, of course, following this prisoner swap. Now that this one has happened, do you think it will be some time before we see another one? Do we have very many key players to offer to Russia in a trade going forward at this time?
Yeah, I felt bad yesterday when I saw that apparently he was on the list to be released, and then at the last minute, the Russians pulled his name off. At least from what I read, it wasn't clear why they did that, whether there was something that some other person they had in mind that they wanted to get out. I'm not aware of who that person might be. But there may be something else in the background that we just don't know yet. It's sad that he has to remain in prison, and obviously his family issued a very, very bitter statement yesterday because they had hoped that he would be coming home.
It's a crushing moment for them, a crushing moment. One more question for you. How big of a threat do Americans now face in countries like Russia? Do you think it's even more risky for an American to travel to Russia now than it was before?
My recommendation is that people not travel to Russia. I think that's the official State Department policy. But I also believe personally that anyone, a journalist or someone in any kind of an official position, not go there.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.